Welcome to the Orange Network. I'm your host, Rob Jones, the mayor of Inbound. Orange Network is the one source of truth for your one source of truth, where we do awesome stuff within HubSpot and talk to people within the HubSpot ecosystem. I have a really cool guest today. You might know him as the man with the sheriff cowboy emoji on LinkedIn, the personal mentor to Kyle Jepson on all things RevOps HubSpot related. This person has every certification, it would seem, within HubSpot. He is a HubSpot certified trainer. He is doing a course for HubSpot Academy right now, and he happens to be my colleague. His name is Shadab Khan. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Shadab is all business. What have you got for us today? We'll tee it up.
We are going to chat about one of the finance operation problem that people call as revenue recognition, and specifically one metric, net revenue retention. So recently our COO Andrew Lyden posted about it on LinkedIn, and it got a massive amount of questions, views, and whatnot, engagement in general. And people are asking about, hey, how did you do that? What were the like some of the steps you took? So I'm just here to some shed some light and some behind the scenes, not necessarily every single thing, because it was a massive project that I had to do, but definitely we'll walk through some of the juicy nuggets around that.
So I usually ask guests, why should people care about what you have to say? Just because I always ask myself that whenever I'm speaking. I think it's evident, but for people that might not know, NRR is non-recurring revenue and net revenue retention. What does this mean that it's been figured out in within HubSpot? Like, what is the impact of that for businesses that may be looking to swap over or upgrade their HubSpot instance?
There are a couple of ways you measure your business progress. So a very typical one is revenue growth month over month or year over year. So you have that, but how sustainable your organization is, how do you know that? That's the metric, net revenue retention. Basically it will tell you if you're losing more customers that you're acquiring, or you're actually moving down to exponential growth. So some of the SaaS companies actually have net revenue retention more than 100%. If they started with 100 customers in the beginning of the month, they are now with 102. So,
Right. They
and
kept everybody on the subscription or whatnot, plus they added customers, correct?
they added customers, they added seats, they added features. Ultimately they added more revenue without losing any customers, in an ideal world, but it's a real world, so you will definitely have some churn. So we will chat about all of those.
So, without question, we normally do segments on here. This is definitely this segment. It's the best thing in tech this week, and we're about to experience it live with Shadab. So I've added this to the stage so we can see it, and I will hand you the mic and the keys to the kingdom, man. Show us what you got.
We have the bowtie model right here. This is the data model for recurring businesses. So you see on the left side we have interest, awareness, education, and select. This is where most of your sales and marketing team sits. And I know right now marketing is not just on the left side but full funnel, but let's just pretend this is where you acquire your customers on the left side. But what happens once you turn them live, once they have bought your product or service and they're live in the engagement and the relationship with you? What happens after that? So there are a couple of things that happen. So one is your recurring revenue that is getting started, and then what do you have new revenue, upsell, cross sells, that is your expansions, upgrades, downgrades, and churn. So you have all of these metrics, and after you get all of these metrics corrected, then you are able to unlock your net revenue retentions. So that's basically what we are going to chat about.
So
So
all of the things on the right hand side are post signature, right? And they deal with moving towards LTV. And those are the different types of almost ledger entries, right? So did they sustain? Did they upgrade? Did they cross sell into something else? Did they net new wouldn't be existing customer base? That that's a helpful way to think of it. And all of these have to roll up into the aggregate of what revenue currently is. Is there a specific time domain you use for this, or is it based on company? Is it yearly, quarterly? Does it have anything to do with fiscal year, or is that kind of by business?
it's basically by business. At Ref Partners, we use month over month, and then we aggregate the retention quarter over quarter. So we keep measuring the metrics month over month, but we do the aggregation for different purposes like business purposes on a quarter basis.
Cool.
There are like a lot of moving parts. I tried to build this simple graphic to simplify these things for you. So in our case, and this will look slightly different for your organization, slightly different for professional services versus real estate versus SaaS. So this will be slightly different, but the core concepts remain the same. The starting point of this will always start at your finance platform, and then you will need to think through how much of that is getting integrated with HubSpot. So in our case, we are using QuickBooks, which is easily integrated with HubSpot using native data sync. So we push our HubSpot in invoices, QuickBook invoices into HubSpot invoices. Once we have that, then we use a third party tool called as Coefficient to grab two key informations. One is pushing all of the invoices into Google Sheets, because that's where we'll do a lot of data transformation. If your organization is super large, as I was chatting with one of the strategists, they have a very large organization and they have Snowflake data warehouse. So you can do this step in your data warehouse as well. It's not mandatory. In our case, a Google Sheet and Coefficient works wonders, so we don't have to deal with those expensive solutions. You push all of the invoices inside of Google Sheets, you push the associated company with that, and depending on how you're using, in what capacity you're using HubSpot invoices, your companies might be or might not be automatically associated. So get in touch with your technology team, or if you don't know how to do it, just let us know. We might be able to help you do the association between invoices and the companies. Finally, once you have all of this in, then you do the transformation. And there are 2 to 3 main things that happen during the data transformations. So first is filtering out anything that is non-recurring. So maybe on your invoice it was a late fee or a one-time onboarding or any kind of one-time thing that's not really a recurring revenue. So you filter all of those information out, just get it out, throw it in the garbage bin. And if your organization or your stakeholders somehow for some reason really care about those things, you bucket them separately. So for this purposes we don't need it for now.
Just
uh,
you have a click up on your. So this is just because they don't recur, correct? These are one time, and you want them separated. That impacts the overall revenue number, correct? But you don't want to approach them the same way as recurring in any of that.
yes,
Okay.
yes, definitely, because we are just chatting about the recurring revenue here. So anything that is non-recurring, be it your product or services, or be it anything that is noise like late fee or anything like that, so filter those out. Second is you consolidate multiple invoices and multiple line items on those invoices into a month based cadence. Every single finance organization is funky and they for some reason send you 2 invoices or 3 invoices in the same month, and that happens a lot. We do it, and it's natural. In real world it's not perfect. Even as ops professionals, we want every single switch and button and bulb to be perfect, but it's not. So you do that consolidation and then generate something called as revenue snapshots. So revenue snapshots will hold these two key informations: your consolidation of the MRR that is cleaned out of anything that is non-recurring revenue, and then finally you need to have your last month's MRR as well on that same record. So for example, if you're operating in, let's say we are in August, so in August if you had 10K worth of recurring revenue for X customer, what was the recurring revenue last month? You need to get that information on this same record level as well, because once you take all of this data back in HubSpot, then on the calculation, you will be doomed basically if you don't have this information. HubSpot calculations cannot at this moment look at holistically to the entire database. It's going to look at just the context of a single record. And I'm going to quickly
That feature I was moving because they need to add that ability, but you're just looking for the delta, correct? So you're looking for the aggregate and then last month and the change between the two to figure out what sort of percentage point or value decrease or increase there is.
yeah, no, definitely. And there is like a lot of add-ons onto that. If you have the beginning MRR, that is your last month's MRR for that particular revenue snapshot. A revenue snapshot, just to define, is a company, a month, and the amount. That's it. For example, if I had, let's say, Rob Jones Corporation, we invoiced them 10,000 last month and 10,000 this month. So August revenue snapshot would be beginning MRR 10,000 and ending MRR 10,000. So you have these two value in. That means we didn't had any change. So it's cut to cut. And then we will talk more about how do we calculate net new upgrades, downgrades, and other calculations. And I'll actually showcase what is the logic and how does these things look in our build in our next segment. So once you have that transformation in, you push all of the data inside of HubSpot, you run all of the calculations for all of these metrics. Then finally, once you have this corrected, then you build your net revenue retention. That is your starting MRR plus upgrades, that is your expansion, downgrades, churn, and that all divided by the starting MRR again into 100. And if you're using a HubSpot calculation property, it's going to be doing that percent calculation automatically for you. So that way you will be able to do it. There are cases where, again, just to reiterate, finance is messy. So you will have some weird discounts or some arcane adjustments that you're having. So you might now have to roll that like entire revenue snapshot that you really nicely built. You have to roll that back up again one level again, so you now have a level 2 roll up, and that's where you will run your main reporting, and that will include your adjustments and discounts and any other funky business that your organization might be doing. So again, where it's automated and it's neat and it's all calculated, it's also considering the human factor and the real world implications of finances into the system.
I have a lot of questions, but I think most of them will be answered by whatever you're going to show next. One of them is, as we're talking through this, I would imagine there are some go to markets or business models or sales motions or even industries where this would not be necessary. Maybe where a company is not reliant on a PLG or subscription model base, so they don't, maybe 50% or more of their revenue is non-recurring. So maybe B2C, this might not work as well. Can you speak into that, or is that something you're going to answer throughout the presentation? Who is this for, and then who would it not be as beneficial to?
I'll keep it very simple. Every single business that has a recurring revenue model baked in, regardless.
Okay.
So even if you're selling helicopters on subscription, for example,
That
I
would
know it's
be
a medical
interesting.
example, but if you're selling helicopters on subscriptions, that means it's like a recurring revenue. But if you're selling, I don't know,
Helicopters without a
let,
subscription.
no, if you're selling software, is everyone knows software as a recurring business for a while. So let's change that myth. I have actually myself purchased software which was non-recurring. It was like a one-time purchase and on-premise. So even if you're purchasing a software, but it's non-recurring, if you're selling software from a seller's point of view, if you're selling software, even if it's a software, doesn't matter. But if it's a non-recurring transaction, you just license it out and it's now like totally owned by the buyer. So it doesn't fit. So every single business that does recurring transactions and you have some kind of subscription with them, some kind of recurring contract with them, this applies to them. And if you don't, you sell stuff and done deal, you go, your separate ways. Maybe you come back as a loyalty program or refer to the customer. That's a different story. But this won't apply to anything that is non-recurring revenue.
Hey,
That
B2B
way.
SaaS companies, we're talking directly to you. This would help you out a lot. And I know Shadab might be able to put in a good word for you if you need some help. Yeah, this is fantastic. What is next?
Yeah, let's do a quick break and then we'll jump on to the funky side of the invoices, the calculations, and the properties and all of that cool stuff.
All the good stuff. All right, cool. We'll do that. If you are tuning in now on YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever this video is, Shadab is talking through how he and our team, I presume it was more than just you, correct? Emily, Leiden, there were some people that helped figure it out, but net revenue retention in HubSpot is real, just like unicorns, dragons, fairy godmothers, and Christmas spirit and joy. All of them are very real. So we're going to add this back and we're going to take a look at some more tactical, like here's this step, here's this, here's what it looks like within HubSpot and not just conceptually. The floor is yours, Mr. Shadab.
The entire story starts with HubSpot invoices. So I'm not going to actually go into the HubSpot invoices because that will be like our actual invoices. This is all sandbox environment, so we can be more comfortable here. But we need to pull out first, like, all of the HubSpot invoices inside of a Google Sheet to start running the transformations. So there are two contingencies. One, your invoices should be there in HubSpot, and your data sync should be there. For some reason, if you're not using HubSpot invoices, and if you see a connector directly with your commerce platform, either ChargeBee, Zero, or QuickBooks directly using a coefficient, feel free to do it, and it will also pull this data in. That's an alternative route. We prefer using HubSpot invoices because once you get the HubSpot invoices correct, you can do a lot more in terms of company association and all of those cool things. So we first pull in not just the invoices, but every single line item that exists on the invoices. You might see a single invoice having two different values. That means that invoice has two line items versus three and four and five. So it's crazy large sheet, and I don't know how many. It's like 10,000 line items in total, or more than that. I don't know. So you pull that in first, and then you do a lot of transformation. So there are a couple of back and arcane formulas going on, and like full credit goes to Emily in our team. She did like a phenomenal job designing all of this, and I tried at first, and it was extreme garbage. So she was like, yeah, let the expert handle these things. But
Shout out to Emily quickly.
Emily, definitely. So she designed all of this like arcane magical formulas that will take care of this, and I'm gonna hide this sheet because it's like super crazy. Then you will get something as an output. This is like a transform sheet, and you will get couple of things. You will get the company name back, you will get the company ID, which will be used back in HubSpot for association purposes. You will get the snapshot name. So snapshot name will be your company name, the month of the revenue, and the year. And then you will have the beginning MRR and the ending MRR. And then this is where it gets tricky and gets interesting and different for every single organization. So at RP, they told me, hey, we are segmenting our revenue by two different product types. So we offer both as revenue operations as a services, RevOps as a service, and we offer growth marketing as a service as well. So they were like, hey, we need this segmented out by these two. I'm like, okay, this is nice. More work to do. Who doesn't appreciate more work? We have beginning MRR, ending MRR, and then we have these two metrics broken down by the two different product type. And again, shout out to Emily for building out this like crazy array formula that is scalable and it's gonna calculate everything.
Is that just in case a partner has both, right? So there are some situations where partners we work with might have kind of the RevOps package and growth marketing. Is that why there's a segmentation there to be able to do A or B or A and B?
Yeah, basically when you go into the world of data modeling and architecture, and where you have a scenario where if a customer can have both of the products, they can, even though they might not have their entire lifetime, you still have to build out the data model for them.
Right.
You might see certain customers will never have a growth marketing, or certain customers will never have a RevOps field filled out for them, but we'll still have to have that data model built out for them, because even if one customer has it, it needs to be there.
Even
So
in
that,
this, I'm seeing a couple where it's very, the light blue is one, the pink is one, but in the middle there's one that has both. But that's how it's two different product types, both of which are MRR. Because I know we also offer onboardings and other products that are non-recurring, which you've already said to exclude all of that from this model. So that's helpful to know. And I assume that if people were going to take this and use it, that is an important step to get it right, because I assume other people have different product offerings that are subscription based. So that's
yes.
good distinction there. Thanks for that.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have to do a lot of mapping. So you have to go through like your finance people and think about, hey, we have all of these line items, and where do they map in terms of recurring versus non-recurring, and what product type they sit in. If you're an ops professional, you would definitely want that your organization doesn't want your revenue to be.
Bless you. He'll be right back. Allergies are going around. Yeah, this is while we have some dead air and Shadab is recovering. Hey, there he is.
I'm back. I'm back.
You were gonna make me monologue for a minute there, and all of our viewership would have tuned out.
No, that's fine. I'm sorry. I told you beforehand, like I'm sick.
This is your flu. I know you might not know what Jordan's flu game as a reference is. If you do, that'd be amazing. But this is your flu game, and we appreciate it a lot. It's inspiring to watch. Go ahead, continue.
All right. You will need to work with your stakeholders as an ops professional that if they say, hey, we just want to do like overall, we don't want to segment our revenue out, then it's going to be really nice and much more easier lift for you. But if they want to segment out the revenue, you need to map this out. So we had to go through every single line item we had, and we had to map them out by RevOps versus growth, NRR versus MRR, and then this table we use as a reference, as a lookup table to build out and segment out our formulas. So you have all of this in, and then finally there are some helper properties, helper columns here. Year month and month year look same but have different purposes. So one is to actually do some kind of validation. Second is to actually do the associations inside of HubSpot. There is another layer of steps. Okay, now to the fun part. Once you have done all of your revenue snapshots in, so a thing about coefficient, it's gonna keep populating your line items automatically for you every single day. So it's gonna do it for you. You don't have to deal with any complicated app scripts or anything like that. It's gonna insert, like, keep grabbing all of the new data points that's coming in. So that's an advantage. And if you're using array formula, just approach Emily does. So your, like, the data transformation sheet, the main snapshot sheet will be scalable, and it's gonna basically automatically populate the correct and refined data for you. Now the only step that will be right now manual for you right now is one time imports that you will do on a month over month basis. That's it. And that's also going to change, because I had a chat with coefficient product team and they said they're going to make this automatic. I don't know how that's going to look like, so I cannot comment on that, but they're going to make it automatic somehow, that as soon as a new field is created on your export sheet, then it's going to automatically sync back in HubSpot. So sounds
One
magic.
time, one time monthly imports of what? Just to clarify.
Of your revenue snapshot. So for example, in January you had 70 monthly snapshots that can include 100 invoices across 70 different customers that you invoiced.
But that
And
that portion lives in HubSpot after it's been transformed with kind of what you set up with coefficient and the sheet. Is that correct? And then you just import the result, which is the snapshot, into HubSpot.
yeah, first
Okay.
first you do the transformation inside of your Google sheet, and then you push it month over month, like the final revenue snapshots, you push that month over month. So as soon as the month of July is closed, you push that month. So in the finance world, when you close the books of business for that last month,
Yep.
once you're done dealing with all of the noise and adjustment on all of the funky business that finance people do, that we all hate, but it's reality. And that's when we recommend pushing that data back in HubSpot. The really good part about this system is, even if you did the imports in HubSpot, it's not stuck in stone. You can still make changes. So even if you messed up a couple of things, it's fine. You can make those changes inside of HubSpot. Okay, now once you have those things in, then you will start building out your calculation properties. So there are a couple of calculations going on. So I'm going to showcase net new, upgrades, downgrades, and churn. And finally, we'll deal with the human aspect of this, those arcane things that finance do, one time adjustment that no one knows, hey, where this adjustment is happening. So how do you incorporate that as well? Because if it's not serving the needs of all of the users, it's not gonna be well adopted. So we want finance to be really weighing on this, along with the operations pro or the leadership person who is running the entire show. So let's go to I'm gonna focus on our RevOps metrics, because growth and RevOps are the same. Let's do net new. So net new is basically, if your beginning MRR is zero, that means we are gonna assume that it's a net new business, because last month there was a zero invoice, like zero record. So we are gonna assume it's a new business. So we are gonna push the value of the ending MRR, that is this month's MRR. You have a
Ooh,
question? Looks like you
yeah.
have.
I just, because this is subscription and think would work well, obviously for B2B SaaS, any of that. You said if beginning value of MRR is 0 and it changes, then it's net new. What about, does that apply also for trials or free, like the freemium model when they're not paying? Is that viewed as an upgrade, or is that calculated still as net
If
new when they're on a trial?
No, so the beauty of this system is it doesn't care about what user does or what salespeople do. It's purely powered by finance. So you are working on the realized revenue zone only. So you are for sure, because your data is powered based on invoices. So you don't really need to care about trials and all of that stuff. That is top of the funnel. It's not our business at this point. It's all important, but for this one, we don't really care about that. You can be in trial and whatever. Generally speaking, just for audience knowledge, if you're in trial, you're not really paying. Even if you pay like a $1 or $2 for credit card a confirmation or something, you're not
Right.
really paying customer at that point. So net new is when you actually make that first payment, then you are net new customer at this point. That's like net new revenue for the company.
That's what essentially promotes them from trial or lead or middle of funnel, right, to they've signed a contract and now they're in the right side of the bow tie model. Okay, cool. That
Yes,
that makes sense.
that's spot on. You're becoming a RevOps pro, Rob.
I know.
Congrats.
I've been following your content for so damn long. It was going to happen eventually. I'm just glad it's happening in front of your eyes.
Nice. Okay, so for upgrades, it's a fairly similar formula as well. The complicated part was to do all of the data transformation and everything back, and that's where you're getting all of this really nice juicy fruits out of that. So again, simple logic. If your beginning MRR was some value, it was not zero. See, I have a formula and I'll zoom this a bit. It shouldn't be zero, because zero is everything will be greater than zero. So your upgrades will mean nothing and you'll just conflate upgrade and net new. So it shouldn't be zero, it should be some value. And your ending MRR is this month's MRR is more than last month's MRR. That means this is an upgrade. And then we basically do the difference between these two and push out the value of the difference. So if, for example, beginning MRR was 1000 and ending MRR is 1200, then the upgrade is $200 for this particular revenue snapshot. Next is downgrades. So downgrades is the reverse of upgrades, as you can understand. If your beginning MRR is higher and
Greater than
your ending is lower, not zero, it's lower, it has to have some value. It cannot be zero, as you can see. So it has to be lower, and then we do the difference and we show, hey, this is how much, this is the amount that we churned. And
so
finally
that's
churn.
like partial churn. So you getting into churn, it would have to be greater than 0 prior to the month, and then at month end, the delta now takes it to 0, which would
Yeah,
be
it's partial churn, it's downgrade, it's contraction.
yeah.
Different companies call it different things. I try to keep it simple. Downgrades, but your department can call whatever. I'm not going to judge you. uh,
I will. I'll judge you, but yeah, that's helpful. The differentiation between downgrade has to be some value more than 0, and the ending value cannot be 0. It just had from 1,000 to $100. That's still a downgrade, but it's not
that's a
churn
downgrade.
because
Yeah,
you're still on the books. Okay, that's
yeah,
making
that's a
sense.
downgrade, but that's a ugly downgrade.
Oh yeah, not that I want that or anybody is advocating for that, but that helps with the logic.
Yeah, yeah, you're better off with a churn versus a downgrade like that. Just saying. Finally, churn is your ending MRR is zero, but you had some value in your beginning MRR. Because so in your beginning MRR you had, let's say, $1,000, and suddenly it's zero. So that means churn has hit your PNL in this particular month. So this is the formula logic for your revenue snapshots, and this is where all of your key metrics will live. Now, to calculate the net revenue retention, we have to go a level up. So now, because Rev Partners, like any other business, we do funky stuff and we have adjustments and discounts and whatnot. Those are hard coded manually, and those cannot be used in any invoices or any system. That happens month over month, and then finance does the finance stuff, and basically, yeah, and
Finance stuff.
basically get some results out of it. So first step is you roll all of this up. So I'm gonna showcase one of the roll-ups. So December is a dummy record, but basically it's gonna share, hey, in December we had in total this amount of ending MRR, this amount of adjustments and discounts.
Two questions. One, is revenue snapshots roll up? Is that a custom object that you've built?
Yeah, these two are custom objects. Good point out. These two are custom objects. You can do this on standard objects if you don't have enterprise plan on deal or ticket, but there is a huge but. It will be really difficult and messy. So proceed with caution.
I was going to say it's probably a lot cleaner to just have a custom object or two just for these things. The other question is, does this impact the snapshots or the roll-ups differently? Does it make it tricky or messy that you've referenced a couple times if somebody were to churn and then come back as a repeat customer, right? So they've approached LTV, they've churned, and then let's say 6 months later they come back. Does that impact any of the reporting or data, or because you said it's all from the perspective of finance, it doesn't matter at all?
Yeah, again, same answer. It really doesn't matter. For example, if Rob Jones Corporation, they stayed with us 10,000 a month for the entire year, let's say 2023, and then they churned in January. So we don't really care about Rob Jones Corporations in finance world. We care about the 10,000 revenue. So we churned 10,000 revenue in January 2024. That's what we know. But when Rob Jones Corporation decides to come back in maybe March or April or whatever, then we are adding that 10,000 MRR revenue back in our system. Again, from a finance point of view, from a P&L point of view, we don't really care about. Definitely, from a customer success operations or from a leadership point of view, this is going to be a massive win back deal that you reacquired your customer, and that is a different play. And you do different stuff in HubSpot to monitor and measure that. That's different story.
Well,
For
that
this,
goes back to the go-to-market team or sales or PX, whatever, right? It's not the financiers or CFOs issue reporting on it. So that helps. I was just curious if that impacted how you structure any of it, but that makes a lot of sense.
no, definitely. That was a good question. Let's go with January. So I'll show you one example. So January, this has all of the beginning MRR, net new expansion, contraction, churn, and then it also has net revenue retention. On the right side, it has the previous month's revenue snapshot roll up connected to it, and snapshot roll up of February for the next month is also connected to it. So the roll up objects or records actually talk to each other and they supply information. So the ending MRR for Feb is actually the starting MRR for March,
Yep.
and so on and so forth. So they actually talk to each other, and then you have to build like a bunch of other properties, which I'm not gonna go into details because it was really hard to build and it's gonna be super time consuming. But you have to build like a bunch of other calculation properties to get this right. For rollup, it's fairly simple. You build your regular rollup properties and you use HubSpot natives association automations to associate your snapshot objects to your rollup object. And that's boom. That's where you get all of your rollup records in. So yeah, that's how we were able to crack down net revenue retention. And then once you have all of the system built out, I recommend creating the rollup records for the entire year. It's like a one-time manual exercise, 10 minutes max. Just build those, done, and the automations will take care of a lot of stuff for you. And then you can just go ahead and build the reports on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, however you feel. At RP, we actually do quarterly basis revenue retention. Again, this is all sandbox, so we don't care. But if we look at the average of the first 3 months, it's very close to 91% of, which is, I don't know, I'll let the leadership speak if it's good or bad, but I'm just saying. Again, it's a all sandbox. So
Yeah, the point is visibility. Like within a couple of, I would say within what, 6 data points right there on the very right side with that snapshot, you can see how the business is performing holistically. 90.3, 90.6, 91, 97, 100. What the hell happened in June? This is massively valuable. I have a couple questions that I think the audience might want to know if you want to answer that. What else do
mhm.
you have, or can we take some question time?
Questions. Yeah, it over to wherever you publish this or send it direct to me, or if you have any preferred channel, send it over there. It's fine.
Yeah, I know people can find you on LinkedIn, Shadab Khan. If you're anywhere else, I know one of the places that you frequent is Sprocketeer. You used to be community.hubspot.com with some of the forums to answer stuff. My question is, you said this took you 3 months to build, and at the end you said the snapshot exercise is pretty quick, 10 minutes or so. Can we offer this to other people yet?
Can we offer this to other people? Not as of now. I'm in the process of building a playbook to make it like more standardized and more framework driven, because every single company is unique and there will be like a bunch of unknown variables. Because again, finance is arcane and you have to master arcane arts in order to do that. I'm like building out a playbook for that, so I'm aiming the launch of the playbook internally by mid September, and whenever I have some permissions from like the leadership whatever, I'll share some of the stuff externally as well.
So what you heard was yes, very soon we'll be able to do it. Am I correct in assuming that people have not either figured this out or at least built a playbook around it yet? You're more involved and connected in the HubSpot ecosystem front lines, I would say, than most people I'm aware of. Has anyone else that we know of done this yet?
I'm not gonna pretend and be arrogant that no one else have done it, but when I and couple of other folks, our like very smart technologists, Christine and other people, we when we started venturing out to do this, we asked on LinkedIn and a bunch of other communities. No one raised their hand that hey, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to assume that no one has done it, but I didn't see anyone do it, and even if they did it, they didn't share it. So that's my like answer. It's a diplomatic answer, but you get the idea.
I do. That's all we had other than me springing a kind of a surprise on you if you're down for it. And we can try this and see if it works or not. I know we're close to time. Are you up for a cool outro?
How much time does it take?
Maybe 3 minutes.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're going to do the orange list. We usually do 2 segments. Shadab blessed us with 45 minutes of just awesomeness. I want to know, though, from Shadab, and I can speak into this for a joint top 5 list, an orange list. What are, aside from HubSpot expertise, the top 5 things that make you a good RevOps professional? I have some, and I know Shadab has a few.
That's a really good question.
We can re-rank them, but let's start an orange list for top 5 things that make you a great RevOps strategist with today's orange list. So I'll start just to help you out. Number 5, everything changes almost every day. Feature releases, new companies, new tech products. If you're not adaptable, you will drown. Is that a fair one to be on the list?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
I'll let you hit number 4. What's number 4 that we need?
Insane amount of communication. Insane over communication. Over communication.
Overcoms, overcoms. And the benefit of that is you're working with every team just about in some capacity or the other and making sure people are on top of things. Communication. I think Matt Bolian of all people said, as soon as you feel like you're communicating too much or over communicating, you're just now communicating enough, which is a great reminder. Number 3, I will say this from experience. This kind of goes with communication, but it's a different type of communication. A good RevOps strategist gives feedback to themselves, to their team, to people they're working with, partners, and the intent of the feedback is to help. So I know that I and some other RPers are pretty dry and direct sometimes, but that's helpful in a business engagement, especially one as holistic as revenue operations. Number 2, what we got for number 2?
It's a mixed bag based on what platform you're using, but you need to be able to handle the stack that you have. Definitely your core CRM, that's fundamental, and any surrounding stack. So when I was doing it, I had to learn QuickBooks a lot and spreadsheets in some capacity, make scenarios in some capacity. So I would say both business acumen and tech stack, like a nice marriage of business acumen and technology stack.
It goes with being adaptable, right? So I think some of these have all of them in there. And the number one thing that you need most as a strategist anywhere, let's do a drum roll. That was not very. I wish Nelson were in here with us. Follow Shadab. Now, this is a fake fun one. That would help a lot. Shadab knows a ton of stuff. He's very helpful and giving with his time. This is a larger point of use the community, right? I probably should have said that, but the community is almost a way to scale your own knowledge, learning, and understanding, because people that are doing it alongside you, giving feedback and giving recommendations. I would say that's probably one, is be involved in something like a Sprocketeer or the HubSpot ecosystem, whatever CRM or whatnot. Be involved in a community that helps you learn and expedite your learning faster. Shadab, man, flu game, you dropped 45. It was amazing. Thank you for coming and doing this. Anything else to shout out? Any other things for you before
I'll
we?
add on your number one real quick. So one key skill, if you're into operations or anything, along with what you just said, I'm aligned with that. But another dimension of number one is project management. You have to be, I think you have to be the best project manager in your organization, the best project manager. Like no one should be able to outdo you in project management if you want to be a good operations professional.
I agree. And ClickUp helps me do that very
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it does. It does.
All right, that's all we had for today. Thank you for tuning in to the Orange Network with me and Shadab, solving net revenue retention one portal at a time. Tune in next week.